In the summer of 1981, the music world was shaken when the Wild Hearts, a rising young rock band on the brink of international fame, vanished without a trace. The group had just wrapped up a sold-out tour and boarded a private jet from Miami, headed for a music festival in the Bahamas. It was supposed to be a short flight, just over an hour in the air. But somewhere over the Atlantic, the jet disappeared from radar. No distress call. No wreckage. Nothing. Authorities launched an immediate search, scouring hundreds of miles of open ocean, but came up empty. It was as if the plane and the band had vanished into thin air. For years, rumors swirled. Some believed it was a tragic crash lost to the sea. Others whispered about sabotage, even kidnapping. Fans clung to hope, and conspiracy theories ran wild, especially since the band had recently spoken out about a controversial deal with a powerful record label. The case faded from headlines, but it never left the hearts of those who followed the story. Then, from 2000, nearly 2 decades later, U.S. Navy recovery team conducting unrelated deep-sea sonar scans made a chilling discovery off the Florida coast. What they found at the bottom of the ocean was more than just wreckage. It raised new questions, cast doubt on everything believed about that day, and reopened a mystery long thought to be buried beneath the waves. What really happened to the Wild Hearts on that final flight? The answers were just beginning to surface. Back in 1981, the Wild Hearts weren't just another band. They were a sensation. 4 young musicians in their early 20s, each with their own story-led singer. Jesse Ray was the wild, charismatic frontman. Drummer Corey. Miles, the quiet genius behind the beats. Twins, Leo and Liam Carter on bass and lead guitar, always inseparable since childhood. Their debut album had gone gold in just months, and they were being courted by major labels with million-dollar offers. But behind the fame, there were cracks starting to show. Tensions with their management team had been growing, and Jesse had reportedly refused to sign a long-term contract that would have locked the band in 4 years. The night before the flight, eyewitnesses claimed the band looked nervous during dinner at a private hotel lounge. One hotel staff member even said Jesse made a cryptic comment: "If anything happens tomorrow, tell my sister to look in the safe." But no one thought much of it until the jet vanished the next day. The search that followed was one of the most expensive private aviation investigations of its time. The FAA, Coast Guard, and even independent divers joined in. But after 2 weeks and no sign of the plane, the case was quietly shelved. Years passed. The band's music faded into classic rock playlists, and their names into trivia questions. That is, until the Navy's sonar scan in 2000 pinged something metallic, oddly shaped and far too deep to have drifted by accident, when the Navy team sent an underwater drone to investigate the signal. What came into view stunned everyone watching. The live feed. Resting on the ocean floor, over 300 feet below the surface, was a shattered jet fuselage with what appeared to be the faint outline of the Wild Hearts logo still visible on the side. But what raised even more questions was the condition of the wreck. The jet looked too intact to have hit the water at full speed. One wing was missing, but the tail section and most of the fuselage were largely preserved. It didn't look like a crash hit. Looked like something placed there. News of the discovery leaked quickly, and within days, reporters and fans swarmed the area. Old band members, managers, and family were contacted, but no one had any new answers. The families had all moved on in different ways. Jesse's sister, Rachel, had become an advocate for missing persons cases and had spent years begging for the investigation to be reopened. She always believed there was more to the story, especially after receiving a strange, unsigned letter in 1983 that simply said he was right not to trust them. Meanwhile, former tour manager Paul Nichols, who had disappeared from the public eye after the band vanished, suddenly resurfaced. He denied knowing anything about the crash, but refused to comment when asked about the band's final night. Some speculated that money, control, or even blackmail could have played a role. And yet, there was still no sign of the band themselves, as investigators examined the recovered footage and rec data more closely. Inconsistencies began to pile up. The cockpit door was sealed shut from the inside, yet the pilot's remains were never found. A black box was discovered, but when analyzed, large chunks of the flight data had been erased, something that couldn't happen on its own. Experts pointed out that the distress beacon had never gone off, suggesting it may have been disabled before takeoff. And then there was the strangest part inside the wreckage. Deep in the cabin, a locked equipment case was found bolted to the floor, untouched by the salt water. Inside, it was a collection of reel-to-reel audio tapes labeled with song titles no one had ever heard before. The handwriting matched Jessie Ray's. When Rachel was allowed to listen, she recognized her brother's voice instantly. But what he was saying between songs didn't sound like someone on tour. In one recording, Jessie says, "We know they're following us. We know this jet isn't going to make it. If anyone finds this, we didn't go down by accident." That one sentence changed everything. Media coverage exploded. Fans around the world demanded answers. Were the band members trying to escape something? Had they been targeted? And most chilling of all, could one or more of them have survived and disappeared on purpose? The Navy's recovery mission had lifted the plane, but it also lifted a lid on a story that no one was truly prepared for. And the truth was getting closer. Just when investigators thought they had uncovered the heart of the mystery, a new twist changed the course of everything. One of the Navy technicians assigned to catalog the recovered wreckage noticed something odd about the metal plating on the jet's tail. It wasn't standard issue for the aircraft model used in 1981. In fact, it matched a type of reinforced paneling not developed until years later. This raised an alarming question: had the plane been tampered with after the crash? Or worse, had it not gone down when they thought? Around the same time, an anonymous email was sent to Rachel with GPS coordinates and a cryptic message. "The studio in the water holds what you're missing." Thinking it was a hoax, authorities hesitated. But when a local diver checked out the location, he found the remnants of what looked like a sunken structure, concrete walls, soundproofing materials, and bits of recording gear still clinging to the floor. It appeared to be an underwater bunker of some kind. And it looked like it had been used. Suddenly, theories about the band's fate took a darker turn. Could the Wild Hearts have been held somewhere, forced to record music against their will? Some even questioned whether the unreleased songs found on the tapes were recorded after the supposed crash. The idea that the band had survived only to disappear into a controlled silence was terrifying. And if someone had gone to such lengths to erase the truth, what were they trying so hard to hide? After months of pressure and media attention, authorities launched a deeper investigation into the underwater bunker. What they found stunned everyone. Hidden behind a rusted steel door was a sealed room, perfectly preserved. Inside were dozens of analog tapes, personal belongings, and a journal written by Leo Carter, the band's lead guitarist. The entries were detailed and emotional, revealing that the band had survived a forced emergency landing orchestrated by individuals posing as security. The group had been taken to the hidden facility under the guise of safety only, to realize they were being kept isolated, pressured to write and record music under surveillance for a secretive investor group tied to a major label. Leo's final journal entry, dated months after the supposed crash, read, "We're leaving tonight. It's our only chance. If this is found, no, we fought to take back our music and our lives." But there was no record of where they went or if they made it. The bunker showed signs of a rushed evacuation. Personal items were scattered. Gear abandoned. No human remains were found. It was clear someone didn't want this place discovered. Just as officials prepared to shut the case, Another tape surfaced, one not found in the bunker, but delivered anonymously to a local reporter. On it, Jesse Ray's unmistakable voice could be heard singing a song no one had ever heard. At the end of the track, he whispered, "We're still here, just not where you're looking." And then, silence. The final tape shook everything once. Believed about the Wild Hearts. Though authorities never located the band members, the evidence left behind painted a haunting yet powerful picture. They had been taken, held in secret, and forced into silence by those meant to profit from their talent. But instead of giving in, they fought back, leaving behind music, memories, and a mystery that would outlast them. Rachel, now older but more determined than ever, chose not to keep chasing ghosts. Instead, she founded a small music foundation in her brother's name to protect the rights of young artists, warning them of the hidden dangers behind the glitter of fame. The old tapes, now restored, were released under the name The Lost Sessions, becoming an instant cult classic. Fans around the world connected with the raw, emotional sound of a band that had never stopped fighting for their voice.